What did you do?
Like some house, a lot of stairs. Oh, my.
No,
And I got there.
you're kidding.
You know how there's stairs? Continue on past the handrail?
Exercise option for child journey declined for McHugh, Yates, and I knew we were last set.
Stair and just
Well, and the last step on both the flights is kind of dark. So especially to go in the same color as the one right below, yeah, so it's deceiving.
Jennifer Fasking, Wendy Venters,
Here.
Colin Wells,
Present.
Ed Smith,
Here.
Tina Summerlin,
Here.
and Craig Fuller. We have a quorum.
If you would, please stand for the invocation and pledge. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for this time together and the opportunity to serve the city of Winter Haven. We ask that you be with us and help guide us in our decisions. We ask these things in your heavenly name. Amen. I pledge allegiance Thank you. Commissioners, if you had an opportunity to review the previous minutes, we'll entertain a motion to approve.
I would move that we approve the minutes of the last meeting.
Second.
All right, second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. All right, minutes are approved. I will do a brief explanation of how we're going to run the hearing. The case will be read into the record. City staff will provide a presentation, and commissioners will have an opportunity to ask questions of staff. Once commissioners have had an opportunity to ask their questions, we will close the planning commission portion of the hearing and open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak for or against the case, starting with the applicant, may do so. We ask that you limit your comments to 5 minutes. When everybody from the public has had an opportunity to ask questions, we will close the public portion of the hearing and reopen the planning portion of the hearing, where commissioners will have an opportunity to ask any additional questions or a motion can be made for or against, and we will call for a vote. If anybody here from the public thinks they may speak for or against any of these cases, if you would, please stand and we'll have Jordan swear you in.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this case shall be the truth?
All right, thank you. All right, moving on to new business. We'll start with case number P-23-61, a request by Champions Church, Inc. to amend Plan Unit Development Ordinance O-89-33 and to rezone a portion of a parcel from Commercial Highway C3 zoning district to Planned Unit Development PUD zoning district, general location 1801 Havendale Boulevard. The area covered by this request is 22.3 plus or minus acres.
Okay, my name is Sean Byers. I'll be presenting this item. What you see on the screen presently is the future land use map. A bulk of this property is designated as residential urban with a roughly a 280 to 300 foot frontage of neighborhood support future land use. The property is zoned similarly with PUD covering bulk of the area that is designated as residential urban. It's the northern portion of the parcel, and the C3 zoning covers what is designated as neighborhood support along Havendale Boulevard. Here's an aerial of the property. As you can see, the Champions Church is kind of generally located in the southeastern portion of the site. There's a significant area of maintained vacant property north of the church. towards Lake Hartridge. As you move to the west, you will find a accessory building used by the church. There's also a communication tower, and the city does currently have a temporary fire station located on this site. A bulk of the parking for this property is presently grass. There is some paved parking on the site as well. I'm going to go through a few pictures. This is a view of the property from Havendale Boulevard. This is looking to the north across Lake Hartridge. To the east, we have the Cypress Cathedral Apartments and also the Hartridge Landing townhouses. To the south, across Havendale Boulevard, we have a mixture of commercial uses ranging from offices to small retail to some convenience uses. And then to the west, we have the Lake Hartridge Nature Park. I'm going to go through a little background on this request. The property contains approximately 22.3 acres, consists of the 18,000 square foot Champions Church, paved and unpaved parking, accessory church buildings, 135-foot communication tower and supporting equipment, a temporary fire station, and vacant land. Back in 1989, the City Commission did approve Planned Unit Development Ordinance 89-33. This does allow for 6-story residential buildings north of the existing church building along Lake Hartridge. The PUD did not restrict the number of residential units. Therefore, maximum density is established by the underlying residential urban future land use. Based on the 18.5 acres of residential urban on the portion of the property covered by PUD 89-33, 648 residential units could be developed. Additionally, per condition E of the PUD, construction of the residential uses had to commence by March 25th, 1991, or 18 months after the PUD's adoption. So therefore, this PUD is technically dormant and expired, but it still remains on the books. Hence, we have our request this evening. As far as the C3 zoning along the front, it does allow some limited residential uses, 76 units. It also allows for up to 55,757 square feet of commercial space. The petitioner is requesting to revise the PUD as follows. They're looking to do 600 multifamily units in buildings up to 7 floors, allow existing 18,000 square foot house of worship, allow 51,240 square feet of retail or commercial space, allow 40,000 square feet of residential restaurant/banquet space, and access will continue to be from Havendale Boulevard. With the requested changes, the total number of residential units will decrease from 724 to 600. However, the requested 91,240 square feet of commercial uses exceeds the maximum 0.404 area ratio of the adopted neighborhood support future land use by 35,483 square feet. In addition to the requested changes from the petitioner, staff has added conditions addressing building setback requirements, landscaping, sidewalks, internal street and driveway standards, public school concurrency, and electric vehicle charging. With regards to this request's impact on public infrastructure, this request does reduce the overall permitted development intensity of subject property from what is currently approved by the Planned Unit Development Ordinance O-89-33. As a result, at this time, there is sufficient utility and roadway capacity to support development of the subject property as proposed. Public school availability is highly variable due to the frequent changes in school enrollments over the course of a year. Therefore, available capacity is determined by the Polk County School Board at the time of final platting or subdivisions or upon final site plan approval for multifamily developments. Based on the requested 600 multifamily units, it is projected that there would be 117 elementary students, 28 middle school students, and 41 high school students generated by this request. And again, the final concurrency determination would be made at the time of site plan or final development approval. For the record, all notification and public notification requirements were met. Therefore, staff does have the following conclusions on this request. At this time, there is sufficient water, wastewater, and roadway capacity to serve the petitioner's proposed residential development. The proposed residential development intensity is consistent with the adopted residential, urban, and neighborhood support future land uses. However, the requested commercial intensity exceeds the maximum adopted FAR by 35,483 square feet. The proposed development is consistent with the surrounding residential densities along this segment of Havendale Boulevard. And at this point, I will also ask you to, at the back of your packet, there is a table that kind of illustrates the developed residential intensities for nearby properties. And it kind of outlines how this fits in with what's actually already been developed in this corridor. And then finally, the proposed residential uses will provide additional housing options to the city. Therefore, based on these conclusions, staff does recommend the Planning Commission approve this request and is forwarding the City Commission subject to the conditions contained in your staff report. I will point out that we did limit the amount of permitted commercial square footage to the 55,757 square feet. It is the maximum permitted under the adopted FAR for the future land use. So that concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Any questions from commissioners? No? Okay. We will go ahead and close the planning portion of the hearing and open the public portion. Anybody wishing to speak for or against, starting with the applicant, if you would, please come forward. Yep, go ahead. Are you the applicant?
Yep.
Yeah. If you would, please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Chuck Millar, I'm the backball, and we're representing Champions Church. I want to thank staff for their cooperation and bringing this forward to you. We're really here to answer any questions we have in presentation. We don't want to reiterate what staff has already presented to you. For the record, I want to make it clear that we accept the conditions of approval. We're aware of that limitation on commercial, so we do accept the required FAR. So we think it's a great info redevelopment project, and we're here to answer any questions.
Thank you.
We can ask
You-
a question.
If you'd like, yeah.
Will this be owned by the church itself, or would there be a future opportunity to turn it into condominium housing and retail structures?
Yeah.
Pastor and Sons co-owner with the Champions Church. The idea is to make it a apartment facility so that we can have that, and then the retail. It's also going to be the retail. Our goal is to try and train people to learn how to run businesses, be a chef, and all that. Those are the type of things that we're going to try and do and intermingle with the church.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? No? All right. Thank you for your comments. Anybody else wishing to speak for or against this case? Go ahead. If you would, please state your name and address for the record.
Yes, my name is Lake Bass. I live at 2215 Fort. It's in Harper's Landing. And actually, I'm not sure if I'm for it or against it because I don't really understand it. So I have a question that I'd like to clarify first. Did he say that there was going to be 600 residents there? I didn't really get it.
Yes, that is correct. They're requesting 600.
I'd like to bring this to the attention of the board. We right now feel like we live between an industrial area and a racetrack. I'm not sure if you're really familiar with Havendale Boulevard, but when traffic leaving Spring Lake Shopping Center, by the time they get to 15th Court, approximately half a mile away, they're doing 50 and 60 miles an hour. So we have a hard time just getting out. If you have 600 residents
I did not specifically address that, but this will be required to go through a site plan review process. Part of that includes review by the Florida Department of Transportation, as Havendale Boulevard's a state roadway. So it will be subject to whatever their access management requirements would be.
Well, we would really appreciate it if you do that. But the question I also have is, has anybody taken into consideration the wildlife that live behind the church? There's a lot of family, raccoons, possums, rabbits. There's quite a bit of wildlife there. I noticed on the ground, it looks like you have a beach in between the homes. So is that reserved for wildlife?
Yep, among the, in addition to FDOT, any developments also is required to go through other state agencies for permitting as well. A couple of those would be the Southwest Florida Water Management District, but also the Florida Department of Environmental Protection. So both those agencies would look at this. Both of these agencies would look at this as part of the site permitting.
And then the last question, I appreciate your patience. The wall behind Parkland's Landing has a 0 variance on that. And so if you're building these homes right up against that wall, the wall is actually Parkland's Landing wall. And we normally go through the church yard to maintain the walls. And the church is supposed to clean the grass and keep the weeds and stuff down. How would we, I know you might not be able to answer this question, but it might be something for the people submitting the request to answer. Who is going to maintain the wall and the lawn, the grass and stuff up to the wall? And if we are required to maintain it, how do we access it? So I'm not sure. Like I said, I don't know whether I'm for it or not, but I'm trying to clarify it.
Okay.
Because we have neighbors that have asked me what's going on, they wanted to know what's going on. And like I said, most of them are elderly. They've been in Winter Haven probably up to 80 or 90 years. So they're well known in the neighborhood. So I guess that's all of my questions. I'm not really for or against it. I just don't understand how we're going to be able to handle this progressive growth that neighborhood into what looks like an industrial park. And then on the other hand, having to deal with this racetrack every day coming out. And when you've got somebody 90 years old who's trying to get out on the Havendale Boulevard, there is a curve right around Blackburn's Floyd. And you can't see past that. And so I would really appreciate it if you would consider and put some stipulation in there that the traffic control needs to be improved before somebody gets killed. And when they have service trucks pull into that mobile gas station, you can't see it all. So that's a real big concern for the neighborhood. So thank you very much for the time.
Thank you for your comments.
I can touch on his question regarding the wall. The PUD does make provisions for a setback anywhere from 15 to 25 feet, depending on the building height. So that means there would be an open green space between any new buildings and the existing wall and adjoining residential buildings. With regards to who maintains their wall, it would be Hartridge Landings would have to maintain their wall. I'm not sure what legal means are in place to access the rear of that wall, if there's an easement, but that's usually how that would be provided for, would be through some kind of access or maintenance easement to allow them to have access to that backside. So,
Thank you.
I have a question.
Okay.
Will all of this commercial development here be considered part of the church? Or will it be separate in terms of taxation?
I don't know how that would be viewed. I think we would have to see how it's actually set up.
Okay,
So-
but,
Yeah, I'm not completely privy to all the property taxation laws and exemptions.
Okay, if somebody else determines
Yeah, it would be
that-
the property appraiser.
Essentially, if it's owned and operated by a nonprofit, it'd probably be tax exempt. But if he's talking about some sort of nonprofit that operates a training facility or a school or something like that, it may end up being not taxable. But if it's a retail for-profit operation, it would be taxable.
I see. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else from the public wishing to speak for or against this case? No? All right, we will go ahead and close the public portion of the hearing and reopen the planning portion of the hearing. Commissioners, any additional questions, comments? If not, we'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve case number P-23-61, request by Champions Church Incorporated to amend Plan Unit Development Ordinance O-89-33 and to rezone a portion of a parcel from Commercial Highway C3 zoning district to Plan Unit Development PUD zoning district. General location 1801 Havendale Boulevard. The area covered by this request is 22.3 plus minus acres, and to include the facts sheet as presented by staff.
And conditions
And
suggested by
conditions
staff.
Suggested by staff.
All right, we have a second. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. All right, case is approved. Moving on to case number P-23-13-S, request by R.R. Heath Investments LLC for special use approval for personal storage in the Commercial Highway C3 zoning district, general location 1100 Eloise Loop Road. The area covered by this request is 1.04 plus or minus acres.
Heather Reuter, Senior Planner for the record. Before you is the zoning map. As you can see, the subject property is designated as Commercial Highway C3. The city properties in this area are Plan Unit Development as part of the Harmony of Lake Eloise. All the area in white is in unincorporated Polk County. As you look at the aerial, you can see that is a vacant lot. Above in the Harmony, it's this little dated aerial. There are houses started to go vertical, as well as the infrastructure in for the subdivision, as well as the intersection there of Westlake Eloise Drive and Eloise Loop Drive is now a completed roundabout. This is a view looking at the subject property. It has been recently cleared. As you can see, there are CSX railroad tracks that do border the property. As you look to the west, there is the CSX railroad tracks, and then there is residential over behind those trees. As you look to the north, that is the Harmony at Lake Eloise subdivision. And to the east, there are some larger lot residential within unincorporated Polk County. Again, this is a request by R.R. Heath Investments LLC. They're requesting that the Planning Commission grant special approval for personal storage in the Commercial Highway C3 zoning district. The vacant subject property totals 1.04 acres and is generally located at 1100 Eloise Loop Road. The petitioner proposes to develop the property with personal storage, and personal storage is a permitted use in the C3 by special use approval. So based on the non-intensive nature of the proposed use, minimum impacts on supporting infrastructure are expected. Additionally, the use of the property for personal storage represents a significant reduction in public infrastructure demands from the maximum potential commercial permitted by the C3 zoning district. As this is a new development, a site plan review will be required, and concurrency for water, sewer, and transportation will be determined at that time. Upon review of this request, the following conclusions have been reached by staff. The development of this property for personal storage instead of other more intense uses permitted within the C3 zoning district will decrease the demands on public infrastructure. The addition of personal storage on the subject property will support the developed or proposed residential units within a short distance to reduce the number and length of vehicle trips onto supporting roadway network, and the irregular shape of the parcel limits the ability to develop most uses permitted by the C3 zoning district. Therefore, staff does recommend the Planning Commission approve this request subject to the conditions in your agenda packet. And this is the conceptual plan that was submitted by the applicant. I stand for any questions.
Thank you, Heather. I'm going to kick us off and just state for the record that the petitioner in this case is my father-in-law, but I have no ownership or financial interest in the project or the property. So, any questions from commissioners? No? All right, we'll close the planning portion of the hearing and open the public portion. If anybody from the public wishes to speak for or against, if you would, please come up, starting with the petitioner.
Good evening, Rennie Heath with RR Investments LLC, 9460 Waterford Oaks Drive, Winter Haven, Florida. I appreciate all the help that the planning staff has given us. It's been made it a very simple and easy process. This is kind of an easy deal anyway. It's kind of a small piece of property that I don't normally do these kind of small things, but I appreciate it, and I'll be standing for any questions. I request a time for me to come up and have a rebuttal of any comments that may be made by the public.
Thank you. If you would, please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Michael Smith. My address is 3800 Gaines Drive, Winter Haven, Florida. I live about 4 doors down from this piece of property. This is a residential road. It's agricultural at the end where Recker Highway is. Once you turn off of that and pass the Rayleigh's Old Groves, where Harmony's going in, it's all residential, all the way around the curve, all the way up to the traffic light at Eagle Lake Loop Road. I really would not care to see a piece of residential development in here. Whether or not it's serving the people of Harmony, it's residential. That lot was residential, at least from the mid-'80s. It was a single-wide trailer on there. Once the trailer fell apart and was moved, it's just been an empty lot. But I'm really not enthused about commercial development being on a residential road, okay? Personally, I'm an amateur astronomer. I like to be able to go out and look at the stars. Harmony coming in is going to be a big problem for that. Any other commercial development that nearby to me is going to be that as well. I would like to see that not happen. No offense, but I'm sure there's other properties in Winter Haven. I'm not sure exactly how that little triangle is considered commercial highway district. It is at least a quarter mile off of the main road and with residential in between that and the rain. And how does that work?
I can address that. It's at the intersection of 2 collector roadways, and so it's eligible to be commercial zoning.
Okay, even though it's residential all the way around it.
It's
Doesn't matter?
Commercial next to residential is not necessarily incompatible, 2 different uses. In fact, it's generally considered, I guess you would call smart urban planning to have non-residential uses near your residential uses because it reduces vehicle trips on the roadways. So being at the corner of 2 collector roadways makes it eligible to be a commercial C3 zoning.
All right, well, as a resident, I like it being a residential road. And we moved out there for the quality of life, which is indeed changing thanks to Harmony. But adding a commercial thing there ain't at the top of my list. So I would appreciate it if y'all would not send your approval to the city on this. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. If you would, please state your name and address for the record.
Good evening. My name is Jean Reed, 27 Lake Eloise Lane, Winter Haven, Florida. I am opposed to this. I'm opposed to the commercialization of it. I think it's absolutely ridiculous to call this a commercial highway C3 zoning. There are no trucks allowed on this road. Lake Eloise Road has a no through trucks on both ends of it. We do not want commercial property. We do not want commercial trucking through there. It's a residential area, as many people are here tonight to say that. I'm totally confused. I spent some time here today and a lot of time looking at what personal storage definition is. I could not find it on your website. I see it listed. It's only approved for C4, C5, special for C3. Is this going to allow other people, or is it just for the personal storage of the owner of the property? Who exactly is going to use the facility and for what reason?
So personal storage, it could be that they choose to use the spaces for themselves or to lease them out. It's a commercial entity and it falls within the definition of personal storage. I was trying to pull it up in our code so that I could read it to you, but
Thank you. Would you read it when you find it?
yes, ma'am.
I'm further confused. Does this not go to the city commission? Is this because of the ruling that, because we're 97 miles from where the hurricane entered Florida, that we have this exception going on?
No, ma'am. Special use approvals only require approval by the planning commission. They do not have to go to the city commission for final action.
Okay, it's just mentioned in the report, so I didn't know why it was there. I can understand previously that it may have affected it, and I want to say it's not a good idea to restrict public information and public input put in any of these. Again, there's a lot of people that are opposed to this. I'm speaking for Citizens for Proper Planning, as well as my a lot of neighbors in my area. You'll hear from others too. I'll stand for questions. Thank you.
Waiting on Heather, right?
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
trying to get it to load. It's
Okay.
running very slow. I am so sorry.
I really think it'd be good for the city to have something other than commercial right next to residential, especially commercial 3 next to 1 per acre that the county has. There's a big difference. Yes, things can be buffered, but I don't even see any trees buffering this. There's no mention to trees. The height can be 65 feet. I don't know what kind of building is going to be up there, but we don't want 65 feet. We do not want lighting and lit signage. It's just not appropriate for the area. Go ahead.
All right, so the definition of personal storage per our code is personal storage unit shall mean a building or group of buildings divided into separate self-contained units or areas offered for rent for self-service storage of household and personal property. The storage units or areas designed to allow private access by the tenant for storing and removing personal property. Accessory uses may include leasing office, outdoor storage of boats, trailers, and recreation vehicles, and 1 accessory dwelling unit for a resident manager or security guard.
And we already have personal storage at the other corner, at the end of Eloise Loop. But I can see where this is a big benefit to the property owner. I could just say it's detrimental to the whole neighborhood and that part of Winter Haven. Thank you for your consideration. I would ask you to deny the special request.
Thank you for your comments.
My name is Tara Messier. I live at 1897 Eloise Loop Road. I've lived on that property for 32 years. It is strictly residential. Now that I hear that it could be opened up for boat storage, any sort of storage, there's no wall to protect the neighborhood. I see no wall, and the angles of that driveway, that's going to be quite the turn to try to get into that 50 by 30 building. There is just, we have residential all the way around. It's going to open up a can of worms. I can see that according to the site, that the site facing Eloise Loop Road has to have some sort of architectural detail. Am I correct about windows or something on that to make it look? But if it is allowing for boat storage or camper storage, it is going to be a mess. We pay horrific taxes on where I live anyway, and it just does not suit the area. The lot, it was beautifully treed, and that's fine. Trees are gone. I didn't think it would be storage for anybody in Harmony. Is that what I'm hearing?
It's just personal storage, so it's not regulated to one subdivision. It's however the property owner determines to run the business.
So if it's sold in the future, does it have to stay personal, or it opens it up to anything?
If a special use approval is approved on this, it is, has 1 year to take effect on it, and then it carries with the land as long as it doesn't cease to operate for 180 days. The C3 zoning is already on the property, so any use that is permitted in the C3 zoning is allowed by right today.
And it's because it's C3 because it is two intersecting roads. Is that correct?
Yes, and it went through all the proper process, it went through Planning Commission and to City Commission, and they adopted the C3 zoning on the property.
So when Mrs. Abercrombie owned it, it was C3, commercial at that time?
No, it was annexed into the city earlier this year and went through the process to allow the assignment of land use and zoning. So that's in place today. This is just an additional request to give special approval for personal storage, which is a very low-intensity use compared to other uses that could go on the property if this request is not
I
approved.
understand, but as a residential area, it has been residential for a lot of years, no trucks at all on this road. I would please hope that you turn this down. We just don't need it. Winter Haven's sprawling as it is. We need to keep the residential, low impact, everything just as is. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comments.
And I would only add with respect to the outdoor storage, there is a condition that any outdoor uncovered storage shall not be permitted without the areas being screened by a 6-foot opaque wall or fence. And the fence cannot be the chain link with the slats in it, has to be opaque fence or wall.
Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Clyde Light. I live at 3806 Gaines Drive. We bought there about 7 years ago. We bought there because it was county. You know, we wanted to be out but still close to the city. We liked the fact that it wasn't developed heavily. I deployed about 3 years ago. I just came home, retired out of the Army, to find a big neighborhood going in, so a lot of development already happening. I understand that happens. But now, what's concerning is the commercial. And I get it. Urban development, urban planning, that's great for a city, not for county folks. We bought there to not be in the city. So I agree with my neighbors, you know, commercial going into the area is very, very concerning. If I wanted that, I'd have lived in the city. It is definitely residential, that area, but it's also county in that area. All right? We want to try to keep that. I'm originally from Polk County. Polk County is changing at a rapid pace, and quite frankly, there ain't too many Polk Countyans that I know that really are for it. I get it, we gotta have places for people to live and stuff like that, but when it comes down to putting commercial as well, nobody wants to see that. So I am definitely against. I get it, it's already commercial, and it would be for private use. I guess that might be the best use for it, since it's already commercial. However, when we're annexing properties later, maybe we could think of that before we're turning everything commercial. Especially when we're making agriculture for 3 years just so we can turn it commercial. So that's pretty much all I got. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Good evening. My name is Sue Bartell. I live at 1775 Eloise Loop Road, and I am still in the county. And I'm here this evening to say that I'm not in favor of this project. As many of you know, for almost the past year, we've gone through extensive issues from the county to the city, and I'm not sure that you're all understanding the connection between where Harmony lets off and the county begins. I have 7 acres right on Lake Eloise. How a project like this could impact even the property values, it's becoming a mishmash. I have beautiful grove, a beautiful home on a beautiful lakefront. We endured going through water changes, sewer changes. We're the pass-through right now from, I guess that's Eagle Lake Road over. People are now following that roundabout. If you have not had that opportunity yet to stop by Harmony, I don't think we have yet to even understand how this is going to unfold. I realize we're talking about this little piece of property, but I encourage all of you to drive out there. It's really sad for me to see what's taken place, these cookie cutter homes about 6 feet, 8 feet apart. There's no windows on the sides of these homes the way that they're going in, so people can't look in each other's windows. It's really quite sad. And we were only in the first, I don't know, maybe 25, 30 homes that are being built. There are so many more to go beyond this. The amount of traffic that's going to take place. I mean, we were hoping, actually, when I saw that being cleared, I would hope that Harmony had bought it to actually be a park, something that would benefit the neighborhood. I feel like this is a tremendous distraction. I feel that it doesn't fit at all with the beautiful residential homes that are, you know, on Lake Eloise that have, you know, we're paying tremendous taxes to be there, and I am just not in favor of this at all. I don't feel like that's anything that's going to be helpful to us. So I ask that you please deny this request. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Anybody else from the public? No? Yeah, we'll bring the petitioner back up to address some of those concerns.
Again, for the record, Rennie Heath, our Investments LLC, is this speaker on?
Yeah, we got you.
The green light's on, it's on.
Yeah.
Is the green light on?
Now can you hear me?
Yeah.
Keep in mind, and I'm just to remind you, not trying to tell you what to do, but we've gone through the land use and we've gone through the zoning on this property. And as Heather has explained, it's a C3 zoning. We're actually going through this special exception to kind of what I consider in the business that I'm in, a kind of a downgrade or a down zoning type use for less impact of roads, water, sewer, and schools. This is a 1 acre parcel that's been sitting there for years and years and years, and nothing's been on it except for a trailer years ago, and it was dilapidated. I understand the concerns that the area residents have with the Harmony coming in. I have nothing to do with that. So I'm just trying to say that what I'm doing is actually downgrading what I could possibly do if this was to get shut, voted down, which I hope that it wouldn't, and I would appreciate if you would vote for it. I could do a lot of other things that were a lot more intensive on this property based on on the land use and the zoning that I have today. Other than that, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Anybody else from the public?
Just a quick question, clarification for me, if you would. When the commercial zoning on that little triangle, when did that happen? Surely it hasn't been that way for 35 years. which is how
No,
long
it was
it's been out
annexed earlier this year into the city of Winter Haven. Once annexed, it has to have city designations. The land use and zoning went before the planning commission in August, city commission in September and October.
So did it get one of those yellow signs on that piece of property that
Yes.
said?
It did prior to the planning commission.
Did anybody else ever see that? I never saw it. I drive by that every single day.
I have photos of it. We also noticed 500-foot radius and put into the paper, and we also had residents within the area speaking at that planning commission.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, if we don't have anybody else, we'll go ahead and close the public portion of the hearing and reopen the planning portion of the hearing. Any additional questions from commissioners?
We're a city on the grow, and there's a lot of question between residential owners and commercial growth. I think some of the concerns expressed by the consumers are reasonable, concerns. And I really think that this whole thing ought to be looked at a little closer before we give an approval to it. Thank you.
Okay. And Heather, if I can, just to add for everybody's edification, this special use approval in no way says, hey, this concept on the screen is what can be built. They still have to go through site plan approval. They still have to go through DOT, all that kind of stuff, correct?
It still has to go through site plan review, make sure at that time that it's meeting all the areas of the code, stormwater management, the parking access.
Landscape buffering,
landscaping,
right.
buffering, all of that. This, per the condition in this, as all conceptual plans are, it should be in general accordance to that, but during the site-specific site review, that's when it will get down to the details of it. And again, just to point out, Commissioner Lane, it already has commercial zoning on it. So if, without the special use, anything that's permitted in the C3 zoning district, they could pull a site plan tomorrow and go through the process. So this, as the applicant said and staff has in the review, this is somewhat of a downgrading in intensity from what is permitted by right on that property today.
Right. Okay. Thank you. I appreciate it. Any other questions? No? Entertain a motion.
I will make a motion to approve case number P 23-13-S, request by R.R. Heath Investments LLC for special use approval for personal storage in the Commercial Highway C3 zoning district. General location 1100 Eloise Loop Road. The area covered by this request is plus or minus 1.04 acres as presented in the fact sheet.
Second.
All right, second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign? All right. Okay, noted. Case is approved. Moving on, case number. Thank you for your time. Case number P-23-60, administrative request to amend the Winter Haven Code of Ordinances, Chapter 21, Article 2, Division 2 of the for the purpose of updating language for consistency with the adopted 2035 Winter Haven Comprehensive Plan.
Heather Reuter for the record. So again, Chapter 21, Article 2, Division 2 establishes the city's zoning districts and the permissible future land use classifications, residential densities, and development intensities for each zoning district. With the adoption of the 2035 Winter Haven Comprehensive Plan, many of the future land use designations were renamed, and new residential densities and development intensities were established. The purpose of this request is to update the city's Code of Ordinances for consistency with the adopted 2035 Winter Haven Comprehensive Plan. So staff does recommend, the Planning Commission recommend approval of this request, and it's forwarding to the City Commission for final action. All of the revisions are as an attachment in the agenda packet. I stand for any questions.
Any questions? Okay, we will close the planning portion of the hearing and open the public portion. Anybody from the public wishing to speak for or against? All right, seeing as we have none, we will close the public portion of the hearing and reopen the planning portion. And I will go ahead and make a motion in favor of case number P-23-60, an administrative request to amend the Winter Haven Code of Ordinances, Chapter 21, Article 2, Division 2, for the purpose of updating language for consistency with the adopted 2035 Winter Haven Comprehensive Plan. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. We have a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. All right, that is approved. Moving on, case number P-23-62, administrative request to amend Plan Unit Development Ordinance O-20-45, general location 13 parcels generally located east and west of Logistics Parkway, approximately 1,300 feet north of Old Bartow Lake Wales Road. The area covered by this request is 932 plus or minus acres.
All right, Heather Reuter for the record again. Here is the future land use map. As you can see, the subject parcels there is what is known as I still call it the ILC. What's the fancy new name?
Well, it's the Integrated Logistic Park.
Oh, park instead of center. There we go.
Instead of center, it's park.
There we go. So as you can see, in the city area there, it is industrial. To the west is unincorporated Polk County and some residential. And as you go south, you would go into Highway 60. This is a part of a plan unit development. As you can see here on the zoning map. And as you look at the aerial, it's very dated because the only building that it is showing is the existing 407,000 square foot original building that now is Coca-Cola. But there is a brand new completed 1.2 million square foot building. That's right? I did that right? Yeah, okay, there we go. Located about here. All right. So this is, I did some views along, you can see here's some of the undeveloped area, and then that Coca-Cola building, in that direction, this is the new completed building. And then this looking over some other area within the property under development or starting to look at it. This is kind of what brought this request forward. As you look on there, you see this 407,000 square foot building, and you see that about 60 square foot sign that I'm zoomed in with a camera, but imagine you're driving down the road in a big old truck, you might not see that. The other part of the request is that currently each parcel is limited to one monument sign. The applicant here was wanting to put, or not the applicant, one of the property owners was wanting to put a monument sign at this opening here and about way down here about, I don't know, 400 feet where that truck is, another one. So they could both driveway access have a monument sign. The current PUD does not allow that. So that's just that request came in and staff kind of started looking at the conditions. So again, it is a request to amend PUD ordinance 02045. It is 932 acres and, contains woodlands, wetlands, vacant development pads, and existing 407,000 square foot industrial building, and the recently completed 1.2 million square foot building. Access to the area is from Logistics Parkway and ultimately State Road 60. The original PUD was adopted in 2012 and amended in 2020. However, the signage requirements have remained the same since the 2012 adoption. However, as this once dormant industrial site shifts to a state-of-the-art manufacturing development, staff realizes the limitation on signage are not compatible with a development of this size. So as contained in your fact sheet, we're just proposing to increase the number of monument signs from one per parcel to one per driveway cut with a minimum 200-foot separation, increasing the monument maximum sign copy area from 72 to 150 square feet, and a maximum height from 10 feet to 15 feet, as most of the vehicular traffic is semi-truck, so we need to make it where they can see it. Removing the limitation on how many building signs a wall sign can be placed on each building. Right now, they're limited to one sign per side up to two sides. So that Coca-Cola sign that you saw is the only one allowed on that entire facing of that building. And increasing the total building signage square footage from 300 to 600 square feet to accommodate, compatible signage with these size buildings. No other changes are proposed. So staff does recommend the Planning Commission approve this request, and it's forwarding to the City Commission for final action. I stand for any questions.
All right. Thank you, Heather. Any questions? No? All right. Anybody care? I'll go ahead and do it.
Oh, wait, you got to open.
Public hearing.
Oh, I'm sorry. We'll go ahead and close the planning portion of the hearing and open the public portion. Anybody wishing to speak for or against this case? We can swear you in. Go ahead. If you'll come up, Jordan will swear you in.
I'm just here to represent several residents there on Andrew Avenue and down through that way. It's what I'm here for, just ask a few questions, really.
Go ahead, Jordan. Jordan will swear you in.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this case shall be the truth?
I do.
If you would, please state your name and your address for the record as well.
You want me to spell my name? It's Anthel, A-N-T-H-I-E-L, Maynard, M-A-Y-N-A-R-D. Everybody calls me Butch. And I live 484 Adriel Avenue, there on the curve, right where she was showing on the curve. I guess I'm just here to ask some questions concerning today I just saw the whole line of trees being removed between us and the development itself. It was just one tree after another being crushed and tore down. This kind of come at a shock for all of us that there's no sound barrier whatsoever between us now and the Coca-Cola or the new warehouse, so we can actually see the new warehouse down behind. But since the trees have been removed, the warehouse can actually be visible from our house. And some people were asking about, well, if they can get sewage to that facilities or those facilities, why can't we have sewage even in the Tipton Street, Adriel Avenue areas also? And that was a question they asked. I think they're building a retention pond is the way I understand it. It's a retention pond there right behind their neighborhood is what I was told that they were in development of right now between us and the new warehouse. And they were concerned about mosquitoes, that kind of thing, not that there's always, you can't
you can't get rid of a mosquito. That's just not possible indeed. But I was just hearing, and we were wondering if maybe it was going to be any residential properties involved where you might actually buy people out or anything like that on these type of developments that are so close to that type of construction and so forth, so on?
Yeah, so, no, we're not going to buy any residential properties
Sale.
on that area. This particular land has been entitled for industrial development since,
20 years.
yeah, it's been,
I'm sure.
yeah, it's been 20 plus years. No intentions in encroaching into the neighborhoods and buying any property. You are correct, the backside of the warehouse and along that border is lowland, existing wetland area, and there are retention ponds designed near the wetlands. So between the buildings and the residential, neighborhood area, there's going to be retention ponds and wetland property. And you can probably see on the aerial here. It's kind of, like I said,
Were the trees necessary to be removed?
So I think you're talking about a little bit further south, right in here.
Yeah.
Right in here. There's going to be a building located here, again, some retention on this top portion, and retention along the backside. Interestingly, we are working with the property owner to create a wetland restoration and retention area along the backside of those buildings that in the future could include public trails, public walking trails. It's kind of like a nature park.
Dog park?
Through there. You could walk your dogs back there. Yes, sir. So with regard to your question about sewer, your neighborhood, your area there is not within the city's utility service area. It's within Juanita's water service area. So we can't provide services in that area from the city.
This development, does it have anything to do with the new expansion of the highway through Juanita itself? Do they relate to any way that big trucks are going to be flying up and down that road also? I mean,
So you're talking about the Parkway extension?
Rifle Range Road.
Rifle Range Road. So the Parkway extension will come down in that general area and come down and connect, south of your neighborhood, I believe, and connect to State Road 60.
Right.
It's about 5.
Yeah.
Already got an interest there already.
Yeah. Yeah, it's to the west, it's proposed to the west, or designed to the west of your neighborhood.
Right.
And it'll come down and connect to 60, State Road 60, west, probably 4 or 5 miles west
Oh, okay.
of here.
Well, like I say, there's when we asked some questions, they understood that there was going to be a Coca-Cola, is that the picture I'm seeing? That is the Coca-Cola, it's back there now?
Yeah, it's back there now. Yep.
And then there's going to be a cannery, aluminum cannery?
It's already there.
Already there?
Yep, it is, I'll show you on the,
It's up there, yeah.
right there on that
Yeah.
vacant.
These are dated aerials.
It's an old aerial, but it's right there, existing today.
Even going to be an expansion on the railroad hub?
On the CSX railroad, I've not seen an,
Hub itself?
Actually, we have been talking to somebody about a storage area.
truck parking.
Yeah.
Yeah, truck parking down there. Yeah.
All right, well,
Yes, sir.
what about runoff? Any kind of runoff of chemicals or base, stuff like that, anything?
No, sir, they all, whatever is proposed in there. Now, of course, the new building is just a warehouse, 1.2 million square foot warehouse, but any advanced manufacturing or anything that goes in there has to go through all the proper DEP permitting, and there's no hazardous chemicals allowed in that PUD. Yeah.
Completion?
For the entire park? Your guess is as good as mine, but
All those heavy equipment right behind our house and all that, I mean, that's, with the retention pond, of course, it'll take another 6 months better probably on that.
right. They've got quite a bit of site work left, but there is, like I said, those existing wetlands between your area and where the development will actually occur. Yeah.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Thanks for all your answers, I appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, anybody else from the public? No? All right, we will close the public portion of the hearing, reopen the planning portion. Any additional questions, or will entertain a motion? All right, I will motion in favor of case number P-23-62, administrative request to amend plan unit development ordinance O-20-45, general location 13 parcels generally located east and west of Logistics Parkway, approximately 1,300 feet north of Old Bartow Lake Wales Road. The area covered by this request is 392 plus or minus acres as presented in the fact sheet.
I would second it.
All right. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Staff, anything for us?
Okay, got a few things this evening. First, I'll touch on items we heard at our October meeting. The Traditions Phase 3 PUD that we heard out there off of Eloise Loop Road, Coon Lake Road, that's actually going to have its final second reading this coming Monday, the 13th of November. The other item that was carrying forward from that meeting, the future land use and zoning for the small medical office complex on Dundee Road, that's also looking to go forward during the month of November. So those are where those two items are. With regards to the Planning Commission, I would like to talk about our December meeting date and then also the January meeting date. Your December meeting date is on the 5th. Should there be a runoff from tomorrow's election, that is held on December 5th, which means we're not able to have our meeting in here that day. By our bylaws, that meeting would shift to December 4th. Does that date look good? That's another Monday.
That date's fine with me.
Okay.
We're not sure yet.
We won't know that until after tomorrow.
But normally it would be December 5th.
It would normally be December 5th, and if there is for no reason a runoff, then the meeting will continue to be on December 5th.
Do you run into notice issues if we don't change it now?
We don't
It-
have to change it,
okay.
our bylaws
Yeah.
automatically
Okay.
move
This
it,
is
like
just-
today
I
did.
got you.
This is
Okay.
just to kind of give you a heads up that that's
Gotcha.
a possibility. Next meeting that we want to talk about is January 2nd. We do have an item that has come in to be heard at the January meeting. That is January 2nd is the date. And we would like to, we don't happen to have an answer exactly tonight, but just be mindful that we would normally be scheduling a meeting for that day. And if it looks like that might be problematic from a quorum standpoint, we're going to have to talk about moving the meeting no later than at your December meeting.
Okay.
So. And yes, thank you. We also need to appoint a new member to the Affordable Housing Advisory Committee. Rick Hemingway was our liaison from the Planning Commission. And he is, as obviously he's resigned from the Planning Commission, so that's now a vacant seat. So it is really important that we get somebody to fill that seat from the Planning Commission, and preferably we need to really do that tonight. They do have a very important meeting coming up in December, and we would like to try to give them the ability to have a quorum. So if there's anyone that's got some interest in serving on that committee.
When do they meet?
Tell us a little more about it, how frequently it meets.
Let's say they quarterly?
Yeah, they generally run quarterly meetings throughout the year. It is a advisory committee that mostly deals with affordable housing strategies associated with our SHIP program, which is governed by Local Housing Action Plan. And so any changes to the Local Housing Action Plan goes through this committee. So if there's anybody with any interest in the affordable housing arena.
I think I went to one of those meetings back, maybe 4 or 5 months ago.
Okay, I'm not sure, yeah.
I think we have a
I
volunteer.
think we have a volunteer.
I saw a hand go up.
I need something else.
But we can let Diane Durr, who's our affordable housing manager, know, and then she can take that item for actual city commission appointment. But it does have to be a person of the planning commission, so.
So, all right. Well,
Thank
thank
you.
you. And then lastly, before I pass the on to comments from the planning commissioners, I'd like to welcome our newest member, Ed Smith, to the planning commission.
Welcome.
That's all you get.
That's more than he wanted.
Anything else?
That's it.
Commissioners, anything? All right, we are adjourned.
We can send you. You talking about the areas?